Good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for joining us during our weekly virtual MLS breakfast meeting. My name is Nanette Ong, and I'm with Coldwell Banker George Realty, and I'm also your April MLS Program Chair. A few housekeeping tips. All participants will be muted upon entry to the MLS breakfast meeting, and should you have a question or a comment, please feel free to enter in the chat box and it will be addressed accordingly. Please also remember to join us weekly as we will have our MLS breakfast meetings every Thursday at 9 a.m. And you may register in advance for this meeting and you'll receive confirmation thereafter. Remember to join us. As always, this meeting is being recorded and will be available online to you on our YouTube channel, West San Gabriel Valley Realtors. Please also remember to connect with us on WSGVR social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You may also watch our pre-recorded videos on YouTube channel, WSGVR TV. We also have a text messaging service where you can receive updates and text alerts. Please text the letters WSGVR to the number 72727. You may also receive information from our website, WSGVAR. Next, we have our quick tip for the week. And as the exclamation mark is intended, don't ignore all compliance emails. A violation of the CRMLS rules must be corrected within 2 business days of receipt of a warning notice of violation sent to the violator and/or responsible participant. Please remember, some violations do not trigger a warning message and result in an automatic violation. Failure to timely correct a noted violation will result in the issuance of a citation. CRMLS will utilize the email address provided by the participant or subscriber as contained with the MLS platform. It is very important to maintain a current, accurate, and active email address. System auto expire or auto sale is a violation. You may receive more information about this on crmls.org. Today's agenda consists of affiliate spotlight Brandon Savarnsky from First American NHD, and also our speaker of the day is Elizabeth Yang, attorney at law from the law and mediation offices of Elizabeth Yang. Please, as a reminder, to be eligible for today's raffle, you must be a WSGVR member and your name must be displayed to win. Please, no telephone numbers. Today, our spotlight is brought to you by the Affiliate Committee, chaired by Sage Gomez of MyNHD and Vice Chair Brandon Savarnsky of First American NHD. Now let's turn towards Brandon Savarnsky for the Affiliate Spotlight. The floor is yours, Brandon.
Thanks, Nanette. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I actually have included some pictures this time so you can get a little snapshot of who I am. Again, I work for First American NHD, and here's some pictures of some things I've been able to accomplish and things that I really like to do. So I have both a bachelor's and master's degree from Georgia State University in Atlanta. I'm also I bake only once a year. That picture is actually from Thanksgiving, I believe 2 years ago. Obviously, since COVID, haven't really been able to see my family too much, but that is a pecan pie. And I like to run and do lots of activities outside. So that picture is a photo finish from the Peachtree Road Race, which is the largest July 4th road race in the country. And I got into skiing when I moved out here. I never skied before. And now, like they say, I caught the bug and I ski almost every year. I have been with First American in multiple capacities for the last, I believe, about 4 or 5 years, but in NHD for almost 2 years. The picture on the bottom left is my grandfather. That's my dad's father. He actually was a professional baseball player for the Cincinnati Reds. And my dad found his Topps card. That's a picture with him in the Topps card a couple of years ago. And all you guys who are fans of Tommy Lasorda, Tommy was actually a friend of my grandfather's. And so it was a pretty sad year for my grandpa since he is now, I believe, the 36th oldest MLB player still alive. So his name keeps going up the list, which is usually sad. And then the picture with the dog, that's my sister's dog, Goose. He was actually a service dog in training, and he actually was adopted by my sister because he had some sort of knee problem. And then the dog behind that is my family dog, Maggie. You can go to the next slide. So my family has been fortunate to be able to do some really, really cool, incredible trips. This is actually a trip my family I've done twice down in Baja. It's a lagoon called San Ignacio Lagoon. It's the only place in the world that you can touch whales in the wild. And I actually was able to, if you can see in the top left, that picture, I'm touching a baby whale. That is a gray whale. And the gray whales migrate farther than any whale on Earth. They actually go from Russia all the way down to the southern tip of Mexico. So you can see these pictures, just incredible sunsets, fresh fish, and food right off the lagoon every day. You sleep in tents, and it is very, very rural out there in the middle of nowhere. And then next slide. And so this is a really cool trip I did with one of my best friends. I did a road trip across the country, the 100th year of the national parks. So we decided to go to Yosemite since it's the best one, in my opinion. And so all these pictures are pictures we took. The route we took was I-20 and I-10 all the way across to San Diego, from San Diego up the Pacific Coast Highway, which is by far my favorite drive. You can see Big Sur in some of those pictures and the elephant seals along the way. When we got to Yosemite, we spent about 5 days hiking, and I hiked El Capitan, which is that big picture in the middle. And we went about June, so there was snow and there was amazing waterfalls. So I highly suggest anyone to do that. And again, this was just an incredible trip with one of my best friends. We did get a couple flat tires. You can see the flat tire in the bottom right picture, but no trip is without any challenges. So in my life, I always look at it, you're always on the road of life, and those challenges will pop up, but as long as you get through them, that's what it's all about. So thank you, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for sharing. Belen and I have dibs on that pecan pie. So
that's right.
We are going to be expecting it Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We're on the list, right, Brandon?
Yep.
Thank you again. Now, today's top affiliates, we will start with John Wax of Snap NHD.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks, Brandon, for sharing. We can get a little bit more about you. I just want to wish everyone a wonderful day. John Wax with Snap NHD Natural Hazard Disclosures. Be safe. Enjoy this beautiful weather. And my information's in the chat. I'm here for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Next, we have Hong Cheng of Hong Cheng Insurance.
Hi, good morning, everyone. If you need anything about, opening an IRA account or anything regarding insurance, give me a call. And you guys all have a nice day. Enjoy the sun.
Thank you, Hong. Next, Maria Howard of Old Republic Home Protection.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It is a great day, like John said. Just here to help you with any of your home warranty questions and concerns. My information will be in the chat. If you'd like to have a one-on-one with me on a Zoom call to go over the coverages in detail and see how you can best help your buyers and even your sellers during the listing period, I'm always here to help, and I thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Maria. Next, we have Nancy Chan of Lawyers Title.
Good morning, everybody. Nancy Chan. Loving this association. Care about all of you. If you need any title help, please reach out to me, Nancy Chan, Lawyers Title. So nice to see everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Brendan, good job.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, we have Annie Fan of Chicago Title.
Good morning. This is Annie Fan, Chicago Title. If you have any questions, please reach out. And Brenda, I'm definitely going to ask you about how to get to that whale place so I can take my daughter. So I'm going to be in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Next, we have Tom Sang of TJ Property Management.
Good morning, fellow realtors. Tom Zeng from TJ Management. Many people are contacting us after they have a bad tenant experience. We can help reduce the owner's headaches. And most importantly, we had 100% rent collection rate in 2020, undiscounted. So if you or anyone you know needs any property management service, please give me a call. Thank you.
Next, we have Joseph Haggerty of Orange Coast Title.
Morning, everyone. Joe Haggerty with Orange Coast Title, here for all your title needs. Come to me with any questions about your files. Thank you, Joe Haggerty. Good to see everybody here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Franco of First American Home Warranty is next.
Good morning, everyone. Sandy Franco, First American Home Warranty. I've had a pie that Brandon made. Those of you who haven't, you're missing out big time.
Thank you for rubbing it in, Sandy. Thank you. Next, we have Cosmo, but I believe he had to go out of town. Sage Gomez of My NHT.
Good morning, everyone. Sage Gomez here with My NHT Natural Hazard Disclosures. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you, Sage. Next, we have Chase Kerr of Morrison Plus Property Inspections.
Good morning, everyone. This is Chase Kerr with Morrison Plus Property Inspections, here for any of your inspection needs. So feel free to call and reach out. And Brandon, that was an awesome presentation. Good job.
And next we have Ami Adini of Ami Adini Environmental Services.
Hello, everyone. And Brandon, thank you very much. You gave me some ideas. I'm planning a trip now. Thanks a lot. And we do phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessments. And I thought it was spring, but I'm freezing here, so I don't know what is happening. But anyway, great to be here.
Thank you, Ami. Thank you to all our top affiliates, and thank you, Brandon, for the spotlight. Please remember to support our affiliates through your transactions, everyone. We are now happy to include open pitching. Please remember, you do have open pitching option to pitch. But for today, we don't have any open pitching. So we will move on to our today's speaker. And it's my pleasure to welcome Elizabeth Yang from Law and Mediation Offices of Elizabeth Yang. Now, a little bit about Elizabeth Yang. She has offices in Monterey Park, Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, and Irvine. She has been practicing law since 2007 and specializes in intellectual property law, business law, family law, and estate planning. Intellectual property law includes patent, copyright and trademark prosecution and litigation. Business law includes corporate entity formation, contract drafting, contract disputes, and litigation. Family law includes divorce, child custody, child support, alimony, and asset division. And estate planning includes establishing wills and trusts. She is fluent in Mandarin Chinese. At the age of 19, she earned her bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and computer science from UC Berkeley in just 2.5 years. Elizabeth went on to study law and was admitted to the United States Patent and Trademark Office in 2007. She gained extensive knowledge from her vast experience at various international intellectual property law firms. In 2011, Elizabeth founded Yang and Wang PC, a boutique law firm that ultimately gave life to the law and mediation offices of Elizabeth Yang. Elizabeth further has extensive knowledge and experience dealing with family law issues involving child custody, child support, alimony, asset division, prenuptial agreements, and postnuptial agreements. Being a mother of 2 young children, she understands and can relate to clients who are also undergoing emotional divorces. She has represented family law clients both efficiently and compassionately at various stages of litigation and trial. She earned her mediation certification in 2015 from the Los Angeles County Bar Association and has assisted many combative litigants in resolving their issues through mediation and alternate dispute resolution. Her accolades include being awarded the Top 100 Civil Lawyers Award and the Top 40 Lawyers Under 40 Award by the National Trial Lawyers Association in the years 2016 to 2020. In 2017 to 2020, Elizabeth is also recognized by Thomas Ruhr's Super Lawyers as a rising star, ranking her in the top 2.5% of lawyers in California, and she was also presented with the Lawyers of Distinction Award, recognizing her as the top 10% of the lawyers in the United States. In 2017, Elizabeth published her first best-selling book called The Big Secret, alongside Jack Canfield, author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. It doesn't stop there. In 2018, she published her second book called Stress-Free Divorce to assist parties going through this very difficult time of their lives. Here to share her extensive knowledge is Elizabeth Yang, Esquire. Elizabeth, can we
Thank you
unmute?
so much, Nanette. Great to be here, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning. I see several familiar faces as I'm pretty involved with the real estate industry myself, and my office is also in the San Gabriel Valley area. I live in Monterey Park. So great to see everyone. And for those who I have not met, I hope to meet you sometime in the near future. I will be sharing my contact information, so feel free to ping me afterwards. You know, we'd love to meet up for a Zoom meeting or for lunch. But for those who know me, great to see you this morning. So today we're going to be going over the topic of family law. You know, like Nanette said, I do specialize in several other areas, and I've done webinars on those areas too. But today specifically, we're going to be going over family law and how it's been impacted by the pandemic in the last year. And this will probably be of interest to many of you because family law attorneys and realtors work very closely hand in hand. A lot of my clients who are going through a divorce, many times that they own a family home, they are planning on selling their property. And so realtors and I refer clients to each other because they either have to do a buyout of each other or they put the house on the market, sell it, and then split the proceeds 50-50. So it's good for you guys to know the basics of family law, about how assets are divided, about child custody, child support, alimony, how income is a factor in all of these issues. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if it allows me to. So let's talk about divorce rates. The divorce rate, you may know from personal experience or from dealing with friends and family who are going through divorces, is pretty high. In California, the divorce rate is about 60%. That's for first-time marriages. For second marriages, it's about 68%. And for folks that are getting married for the third time around, it's about 75%. So you would think people learned their lesson the first time, and actually no, you know, it's actually easier for them to pull the trigger the more times that they've been married. Across the US, it's about 50%. It's usually higher in the metro areas. So California is higher than the national average. In terms of households with children, about a third of American children grow up living with only one parent, especially if they are from a poor or minority family. Recently, the divorce rate has been declining, and we'll get into that specifically as how COVID relates to it. But one of the reasons is also because marriage rates are declining as well. More and more millennials, young folks, they see their parents divorced, their close family and friends getting divorced, and so they're afraid to get married. And a lot of times nowadays, folks don't need to get married anymore. You know, back in the Middle Ages when marriage was first created, women needed to get married in order to own property. And nowadays, you know, anyone can own property without getting married. And so the benefits of marriage are now being outweighed by the disadvantages that come with it due to the expensive cost of getting divorced, the very difficult process, all the paperwork, having to deal with attorneys. And so folks are deciding just not to get married and to choose to be in committed relationships without having the government to be involved. By the way, if anyone has any questions during my presentation, you're welcome to unmute and ask me. Or if you're not able to unmute, you can put it into the chat, and either Nanette or one of the co-hosts, you're welcome to interrupt me and ask the question anytime, so we don't have to wait till the very end. Okay, so during COVID, many of you might have heard through the news or through the grapevine that the divorce rate has been going up. And that was true in the very beginning. So, China, they had their quarantine before us. And in February of 2020, before our lockdown even happened, we were already getting statistics from China saying that in one day, 300 couples went and registered for divorces, and their courtrooms, their courthouses were so full that employees had to deal with lines of people lining up to file, and they couldn't even eat. So they couldn't even get a lunch break because it was just a madhouse there. And the obvious reason is because when couples are confined in living quarters without any access to other people, it puts a strain on the marriage. Usually couples are used to going to work for most of the day, coming home, just having dinner together, spending some time, and then starting the day going to work again, separate from each other. And now couples are being locked down, seeing each other 24/7. If a dispute comes, they end up arguing, and there's no space, there's no friends they can escape to, there's no work they can escape to. And so with all the stresses of unemployment possibilities, folks losing their jobs, financial stresses, uncertainties, it's definitely caused strains on marriages across the board. And so in the last year, I'll say in 2020, the divorce rate has been increasing substantially or firm. We've seen a lot more divorce cases come in. We're getting phone calls, not just during the working hours, but even late at night, midnight. Folks are just calling, trying to get legal advice no matter what time it is. In the last few months, however, there's new articles that are saying that divorce rates are dropping. And this applies to couples who may not be happy in their relationships, but they are afraid to file, because if they file, then the next step would be they got to move out of their house, find a new place to live. And so during COVID, they don't want to move. If they have to look for a new place to stay, who knows how safe it could be. And then if they have to go and visit several new places, that gives them more exposure to people. So a lot of folks are just hanging on to the thread of their relationship, waiting for the pandemic to be over before taking action. And so there is a slight decrease in the last months during the pandemic, but we expect it to rise again once the lockdown is lifted completely. So I think it's a temporary reduction right now, and ultimately it's gonna impact marriages negatively for the long run. All right, so how is child custody affected in all of this? So child custody, back in the 1970s, the courts shifted to a child-centered focus. So nowadays, they still do that. They don't care about what the parents want. They don't care about what mom wants, what dad wants. They focus on what is in the best interest of the child. If one party is away working all the time and the other party has a lot more time to take care of the children and is doing a good job of it, then the court might award primary custody to that parent who is available and has proven themselves to be a good parent, willing to co-parent. Okay, so usually children in the courts don't have counsel for themselves. Sometimes courts will appoint what's called minors counsel to represent the interests of the children. But for the most part, most of the cases, the mom has an attorney, the dad has an attorney, but no one's representing what the child wants. And so it's the responsibility of the courts to focus on what factors play into the best interest of the child. And they look at that rather than what the parents want. In California, California is a community property state, which means that absent a prenup or a postnup, property belongs to both parties. It's presumed to be community property, regardless of how title is held. Folks might think, oh, the title is held in my name. I never added my spouse's name to my house. And so when we split up, my spouse is not going to get any piece of the property. That's definitely not true. In California, that house, even though it's under just your name or just under your spouse's name, is still presumed to be community property. And whoever wants to argue that it's separate property will have to show the evidence. They will have the burden of proof to show why it's separate property. They would have to show the bank statements that, this came, the down payment or the mortgage payments came from money that was earned prior to marriage. So that's a burden for everyone to meet to prove separate property. Otherwise, everything's presumed community property. California is also a no-fault state, which means that affairs, extramarital affairs, cheating, all that is irrelevant in court. The courts don't care about that. It could get way too complicated if they did. And so whoever is at fault in the marriage is irrelevant, and assets are still split 50-50. All right. And a lot of folks, there's a myth, they think that moms usually will get primary custody just because they're the mother and, mothers are better parents. That's definitely a myth. It's not true. In fact, there's more and more stay-at-home fathers nowadays. And so many fathers nowadays are getting primary custody. There is an increasing recognition of the father role, and a lot of attorneys are father's right attorneys. But in the court's eyes, gender is irrelevant. Mothers and fathers are equal and can get equal custody rights. It really depends on how well they are being a parent and how well they are co-parenting or willing to co-parent with the other party. Are there any questions in the chat? I see like a blinking light. I'm not sure if it's a question or not.
There is, if we'd like to address a couple of them right now, we could. How soon do I need to respond to a stipulation and order to set aside judgment on termination of marital status?
Oh, that's a very specific question. I would suggest that party message me directly offline because it's a very specific question and there's a lot of factor it depends on. So I won't address it here because it's not, a general question that will apply to everybody. It's very particular for that person's case.
Okay, perhaps we can address the rest of the questions afterwards because your presentation might answer some of the questions already, the rest of your presentation.
Okay,
Should we do
sure.
that?
Let's do that then.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So going back to child custody, these are all of the different factors under the California Family Code 3011 that the court takes into consideration in determining who gets custody, right? So they look at which parent can provide the best health, safety, and welfare for the child. They look at the nature and amount of contact with both parents. If one parent is hogging the child and giving the other parent a really difficult time to see the child, that's actually gonna be frowned upon by the courts. The courts prefer to give custody to the parent who's willing to co-parent and allow the child access to both parents, because having access to two parents is in the best interest of the child. And if one parent is abusive or dangerous, that could include supervised, monitored visitations too. They look at the use of controlled substances, abuse of alcohol, but a lot of times this has to be relevant to when the child is around. We've had cases before where a party will use substances and alcohol when they don't have custody of their child, and the courts have chosen not to take that into consideration because it's not affecting the child. So any factor that you bring into your case, you got to look at how that is affecting how that is affecting your child. If it's outside of the child custody time, then the courts may not look at it. Abuse, domestic violence, all that are serious considerations that are also looked at by the courts. In addition to an increase in divorce cases recently, we've also seen an increase in domestic violence cases. And we've had to go to the courts to get restraining orders for a lot of clients, because when the couples are arguing at home while being quarantined together, they're not just arguing, they're physically fighting as well. And there's articles out there that show how much more often police are being called to homes for domestic disputes. And if there is physical interaction going on, then typically the police will arrest one of the parties and issue an emergency restraining order for the other party. So you got to be really careful about what happens. And if a child is present during a domestic violence case, the police can even remove the child from the home and open up a child protective services case, because even though the victim was not abusing the child, the victim failed to protect the child, and the child was had in the middle of the domestic violence case. So if a victim who's being abused fails to protect the child can be removed from the family, from both parents. Okay, so if there's abuse or domestic violence going on, it's the responsibility of everybody to report to authorities and take action to protect the children involved. Family Code 3040 is the code section that talks about how the court considers which parent will allow the child frequent and continued contact with the non-custodial parent. So a lot of my clients will say, well, I really, really dislike the other parent, and I know that it's good for my child to have contact with that parent, but I just can't deal with that person. Well, there are apps out there that facilitate this. There's an app called Talking Parents, and there's also an app called Our Family Wizard. Usually if a custody case goes to court, the courts will tell the parents, you have to use these apps. These are my orders. And these apps are great because usually in a text messaging circumstance, in a text messaging situation, parties will be, pretty nasty with each other. I've read text messages before where they're like cussing each other out, calling each other names, like very, very, ugly conversations. In Talking Parents, however, the parties communicate a lot more cordially because these apps allow easy printouts to be given to the judge. And so when the parties feel like any word they text can be seen by the judge and they're being observed and watched, then they're way more professional and amicable towards each other, and then things get done. Otherwise, in regular text messages, it's easy to delete messages and change the story up to make it seem like, you're the good person and the other person is the bad person. In Talking Parents, nothing can be deleted. So the judge gets to see the full story. So Talking Parents and Our Family Wizard is great for communication. Another thing is there's timestamps on the messages. So if one parent sends a question, like when are you picking up the child, or if the child is sick, how are they doing, and the other party does not respond quickly within 24 hours, then the court will see that, hey, like this other parent is out of communication and not co-parenting. So it forces the parents to communicate with each other. If you guys are doing a house sale with two parties, having Talking Parents as an app is actually great too, not for custody issues, but to communicate and get a house sold, just to get anything done in a divorce case. Having this communication system is really effective. All right, so moving on to Family Code 3042. Some of my clients will ask me, well, how, if my child wants to live with me, how can that be taken into consideration? So according to this family code, in order for a child to testify in court and tell the judge which party they want to live with, which parent they want to live with, they have to be age 14. Children under age 14 cannot testify in court and tell the judges directly who they want to live with. But there are other opportunities for younger children to be heard. And that's, we'll cover that in the next couple of slides, where an investigator is appointed, and they will come in and question the child at the home of mom and at the home of dad, because sometimes kids will say different things based on whose house they're at, you know, if they're being instructed on what to say. And then they will interrogate the mom, interrogate the dad, put a report together of all of their findings, and then give that report to the judge. So that report will include what the child wants. And that's how the child is able to tell the judge if they're not 14 yet. But the only way for the child to tell the court what they want, who they want to live with, is wait until they're age 14. Family Code 3002-207 talks about all the different kinds of custody. So there's legal custody and there's physical custody. So when my client comes in and tells me, look, I want sole custody, I want 100% custody, I'm like, do you know what that means? You know, if you're talking about sole physical custody, that means you want the other parent to never see your children. You want your children to have zero access to the other parent. Is that what you really want when you come and tell me that you want sole physical custody? And they're like, no, that's not what I really want. I just want them to have like limited time. I just want more time. So I'm like, well, then don't be asking for sole custody. You want to ask for primary custody. There's a big difference. Sole custody means the other parent has no interaction. And usually that's not what they want for their child, because then you're completely eliminating the other parent. So having primary custody means that you get anything above 50%. So if you get 70% physical custody and the other party gets 30% physical custody, you're getting primary custody. But it's not sole custody. Sole physical custody means 100%. So physical custody has to do with where the child lives, who the child sees. Legal custody, on the other hand, has to do with which parent is making the legal decisions, such as which doctor they're seeing, which school they're attending, whether or not they're going to get a passport, what surgery they need to do. You know, all these legal decisions are called legal custody. So for legal custody, there is a sole legal custody. That means if a parent has sole legal custody, they can make all the decisions for the child without any input from the other party, right? That's different from physical custody. In a scenario, one parent can have sole legal custody, but can still have 50-50 physical custody. So gotta make sure you keep the two different. Legal and physical custody are different. This slide talks about the evaluation process that I was mentioning earlier, where the evaluator will come into the home, have interviews with the parent and the child. They will do a home visit, see the bedroom of the child, see if there's any dangerous stuff sticking around that might, you know, be of a danger to the child. And then they will take all this information that they collect, put it into a written report, and then present it to the judge. And the judge will really base his or her orders off of this report, because this is a neutral report that has all of the information collected by a third-party professional. And this report will include the child's preferences on which parent he or she wants to live with. If the parent is coaching the child, the evaluator will be able to tell right away, because the child's interview will sound different, whether or not the parent is there or whether the child is on their own. And so if coaching is involved, that's going to be frowned upon by the judge, by the courts. And the courts will say that the parent is manipulating the children and may end up reducing that person's custody time. Okay, so this is the custody evaluation process. Other factors that deal with custody orders is like Family Code Section 2040. There's automatically temporary restraining orders in place when a divorce is filed. And this has to do with community property and assets. So a lot of time when folks file for divorce, they try to transfer out their assets after the divorce is filed. So as attorneys, we have to tell them that automatic restraining orders apply and they can't transfer any assets out once a divorce is filed. They cannot sell an asset without the other party's permission, without a court order. They can't gift an asset. They can't do a 1031 exchange. They can't even transfer a house into a trust. You know, any transfers are prohibited once the divorce is filed, unless there is a stipulation, a court order, or some kind of agreement with the other party. So they have to be really careful. If they violate these automatic temporary restraining orders, they could be found in contempt of the court. They could be sanctioned later. There's a lot of ways the courts can punish parties. Law enforcement comes into play when orders are set by the courts, and you know, law enforcement's job is to enforce these orders. So if there's a custody order in place and the other party is refusing to abide by them, that's when you got to call 911, get the police involved, unfortunately. And usually the police will do it peacefully. They'll accompany you to the other person's house when it's your custody time. They'll help you knock on the door and ask the person to please hand over the children. So make sure you utilize law enforcement to help you with the child exchanges in a peaceful manner. Motion for contempt is also something you can bring to the court if a party is not following the orders. If the court has made orders, they're supposed to be followed. So when someone is not following them, you either call the police to help you, or you file a motion for contempt, bring it to the court's attention, and usually judges are very unhappy when their orders are not being followed. Ex parte relief is another option that can be taken. Ex parte is Latin for emergency. So if there's an emergency situation that needs to be handled and you can't wait for the usual 30 to 60 days that it takes to get a court hearing before any judge, then you can file an ex parte, go in the very next day, see a judge, and if it indeed is an emergency circumstance, the court will make orders right away. So you don't have to wait. You know, let's say like the bank is going to foreclose on your property, you know, in a week, and the other person won't sign the papers to sell the house. You can't wait 30 days to go before the judge and tell the judge. So you got to file an ex parte motion in order to get the judge to order the other party sign the documents and sell property or do anything else. Okay, so ex parte is something that is commonly used, but don't use it for non-emergency circumstances, because if the court determines it's not an emergency, then you're just wasting time and money to go to court to file it. During COVID, there's been a lot of cases where parents have disagreements on, you know, who to see, how big of a group to allow children to go into, whether or not to eat out at restaurants, you know, all these differing opinions. And if one of the parties is being too liberal, not wearing a mask when they go out, seeing people refusing to get vaccinated, the other party might think, okay, I don't want to put my children in danger, so I'm not going to let them see the kids. Definitely don't do that. Even if you disagree with the other parents' behaviors and habits, you still got to let them see the children in accordance with the child custody orders. If you want to modify them, you have to go back to court to modify them. But if you wrongfully withhold them and the parent tells the judge later on, that could end up reducing your custody time. So don't take matters into your own hands. You still got to follow the court orders. Okay, and then mediation is something that our firm strongly recommends. In these cases, whenever parties go to the court and the court makes an order on child custody, I'll say in the majority of situations, both parties are not happy with certain aspects of the orders that are made, because you're basically putting your life in the hands of a stranger judge who spends some limited time hearing the facts of your case and then making orders that you have to follow you know, every day in your life. So mediation gives you and the other party the ability to really sit down and make your own decisions, set your own lifestyles, and not put your whole life in the hands of a stranger judge, you know, who really has no idea how your lives are. Okay, so I know Nanette, how much time do I have left?
maybe if you can wrap up in a minute and we'll have time for questions.
Okay, I'll just go through some of these last slides really fast. So in terms of calculating child support, there's a website here. It's calculated using the DissoMaster. So if you go to that website, input the number of children you have, the percentage of time spent with each parent, and the salary of both parties. That's how child support, and that's how alimony is calculated using the DissoMaster calculator. Okay, so alimony, same calculator for marriages that are under 10 years. Alimony is half of the length of the marriage. For marriages over 10 years, it's long-term alimony. So you could be paying alimony for the rest of your life. That's why a lot of breadwinners, if their marriage is not going well at the 10-year mark, they decide to file for divorce because they don't want to be responsible to pay alimony forever until they're retired. So final slide, COVID-19 effects. Right now, the unemployment rate is at 6.3%. There's 10.1 million people unemployed across the whole nation. Pre-pandemic, it was only 3.5%, 5.7 million. So it's still at about double. And so when the courts reopened last year after being closed for several months, there was a spike in the number of requests filed to modify support due to the high unemployment rate. Support is based on income. And so when income drops to zero, then you don't need to pay support anymore. And so with all this unemployment rate, there's definitely been an increase in the amount of folks going back to court to file requests and modify. All right, and that'll be the end of my presentation, so we can address any questions now.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, let's go back to the questions. If the spouse signed a quitclaim deed or interspousal transfer deed at time of purchase, are they still entitled to half of the property as divorce settlement?
If they sign an interspousal transfer deed, or if they sign something like a quitclaim, that will support the other party's burden of proof to show that it is separate property. So it does work in that favor, but it's not, guaranteed 100%, because I've seen cases where the parties will say, my spouse just gave me this document and had me signed it. I didn't have an attorney review it for me. I had no idea what I was signing. A lot of my clients are clients where English is not their primary language. And so they'll say, I didn't even understand the words on this paper. And then their attorney will try to set it aside due to it being defective because the party signing it didn't really understand what they were signing. So it is important to have a translator involved, have an attorney involved, showing that this was explained to the party before they signed it.
Okay, great. The next question, I'm not sure if it makes sense, but to me, I don't know if it's a secondary to another question. What if domestic violence was the cause of the divorce?
It's still a no-fault divorce. So California is a no-fault state. So they don't look at, the courts don't even ask, why are you getting a divorce? But if there is domestic violence, it does play as a factor in certain things, such as spousal support. I had a case where the husband was a breadwinner. The wife was a stay-at-home mom, and the wife wanted to get spousal support. The reason they were getting separated was because the husband was cheating on her, and so they filed for divorce. But rather than just going to the courts to ask for spousal support, what the wife did was she broke into the husband's new place. She took all his underwear and burned it and cut it up. And he ended up having to file a restraining order because she was going crazy. And the courts ended up awarding him a restraining order against her because she went crazy on him. And she ended up not being able to collect a single penny of spousal support because of that restraining order. So that's where restraining orders come into play. That's where it affects the spousal support. So if someone is, doing something bad to you and you're angry at them, don't take matters into your own hands. Don't be breaking the law and trying to get even. Go through the court system, because otherwise it could backfire.
Thank you. Next question is, client is married abroad and trying to purchase the property in USA without the spouse's name and awareness. They want it to buy and or sell as single, unmarried. They ask if that is legal and what are the consequences?
Well, first of all, if they buy a home during the marriage with community assets, it doesn't matter if they buy it under their own name, the other spouse can still come after it and show, as long as they show like, hey, this is purchased with money that belongs to the marriage, not separate property. So the title really doesn't make a difference. And additionally, if someone is purchasing title as unmarried, when they are actually married, that's a fraudulent title. They're committing a fraud on the government. So that's going to look badly on the person who's signing the documents as unmarried when they're actually married.
Are the home visits unannounced, or will a parent be given time to prepare for the home visit?
They are not unannounced. They are scheduled ahead of time. So the parents do have time to prepare for it. Yes. They don't just show up at the homes, because sometimes the children might not be home. Sometimes the parents might not be home. So they are scheduled ahead of time.
Okay, great. Let's do one more question. Is alimony mandatory in the state of California? I heard anecdotally that alimony is not mandatory in other states.
Alimony is not mandatory in other states, but it is mandatory in the state of California. Parties can choose to waive it if they don't want spousal support from the other parent, from the other spouse. So they can choose to waive it, and then the other spouse won't need to pay it. But if they go to court and they were the stay-at-home party for the entire marriage, and they should be getting the alimony, and they ask for it, then the courts will award it. So you can't escape it if the other party wants it. And then I see some folks are putting in the chat that they didn't get the website. I'm gonna put my contact information in here. Oh, actually it's on the screen. So if you guys send me an email, I'm happy to forward my presentation to you guys. That way you guys have the entire presentation handy.
Great, thank you. And it looks like we've had quite a few other questions. Would you mind if they contacted you for those questions?
Not at all. I know we are limited on time. So if there's any questions that we didn't get to, just shoot me an email and I'll be happy to respond and answer your questions.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you for answering all the questions as well. On behalf of WSGVR, I'd like to thank you for joining us today and providing us such an informative presentation. Thank you. And now we move on to our attendance drawing. If we can have the wheel of names, please, as a reminder, WSGVR members only to win, no telephone numbers. And our first, okay, let's see who our first winner is of the morning, Michael Song. Do we have Michael Song in our meeting right now? Let's see. We do see him, but he needs to type in the chat box and let us know his email address and let us know that he is here so that he may claim his prize. So while we're waiting for Michael to respond in the chat, let's see who our next winner will be. Congratulations, Michael. Please type in chat box. Next one is, drum roll, Shun Zhang. Shun Zhang, are you here? She's here today. She's quite the winner. Did she win just recently too? Congratulations. Oh, there she is. Congratulations, Shun. You are our lucky winner, second winner. Now we have our third winner will be, it will be Peifin Shu. I hope I said the first name, pronounced it correctly. Peifin Shu, are you here? Do we have Peifin here?
No, I don't believe he's here, no.
Okay, we still have room for a third winner. Yes, Sean, you're a lucky day. Buy a lotto ticket for all of us. So our next winner Karen Chen. Do we have Karen Chen here? Congratulations to Karen if you are here.
Karen Chen is not
No,
here.
she's not.
No.
We might be rolling for the second winner still because the first one still has not responded.
Right.
And our next one will be Sam Lee. Congratulations, Sam. If you're here, you could be our second winner if you are here.
Okay, where did everybody go? Sam Lee is not here either.
Well, maybe they went out to get some coffee in their kitchen. Sunbathing in the overcast. Our next winner is Sabrina Shy.
Sabrina is not here.
Okay, more for everyone else. There's more to go around.
Okay.
That wheel is still very full. We will have a winner. It will be Yang Xiao Ye. Yang Xiao?
Yes, Yang Xiao is here, just not.
Yes, she is. And she is quick to the draw for the chat box to claim her prize. Thank you. Congratulations, Yang Xiao. Next, we have our last
email in the chat box.
Email in the chat box, please. Yes, thank you. Next, we have next winner, Ji Lin or Jilin, Ji Lin. I am so sorry for mispronounced your name.
Yes, Lynn is here. If they could respond in the chat box and type in their.
Okay, Jilin.
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
congratulations. You are the winner.
Thanks.
Please type
Just
your
made it to
email.
the right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Next,
you.
we have, we move on from Jennifer and congratulations, everyone. Now, a little promotion for YPN. They have a top producer panel next Wednesday, April 21st from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. It will be featuring Kevin Kwan, May Kunka, Michelle Shimahara, and the moderator is their vice chair, Kimberly Tran. Thank you. And please remember our next slide to join us for our education classes. We have Glide for Forms, Safer at Home and Learn, Home Hardening and the NHD, CMRLS Virtual Training, and Top Producer Panel. These are all in the following week. Thank you. And April 29th, everybody, mark your calendars. We have Cinco de Mayo events virtually here in our breakfast meeting, 9 a.m. Included in our event is a loteria game. Those of you who have played that a long time ago, it's a traditional Mexican game, very much so like a bingo game. You do need to register in advance to play. So go ahead and click early for a spot to play. Thank you. Any questions, please refer to Berlin@wsgvar.com. And thank you everyone for joining. Our next meeting will be April 22nd at 9 a.m. Joining us next week is our affiliate panel by Alina Chu from Glen Oaks Escrow, Jacqueline Cho from Champion Escrow, and Juliana Chu from Viva Escrow. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining. And please remember to support affiliate through your transactions. Thank you and have a wonderful day.